My name is Ryan Brooks, and at the time this happened, I lived alone in a basement apartment in Denver, Colorado, just a few miles from downtown. The place wasn't great, low ceilings, thin walls, and a constant draft that came through the old window frames, but the rent was cheap, and I was saving up for a better place. Living alone never bothered me, until the night the phone call started. It was a Thursday. Cold, windy, the kind of winter night where the whole world feels empty. I fell asleep watching TV on the couch and woke up when my phone vibrated on the coffee table. 2:19 a.m. Unknown number. I frowned at it. No one calls at that hour unless something is wrong. I answered. Hello? At first, nothing. Just static. Thick, heavy static like an old radio not tuned correctly. Then, under the static, I heard breathing. Slow, deep, too close to the microphone. "Who is this?" I said. The breathing got louder, closer, wet. Then the line cut. I sat up, wide awake now, heart pounding. I tried calling back, but the number didn't exist. Not disconnected, didn't exist. I told myself it was a glitch or some scammer spoofing numbers. I put the phone down and tried to sleep again. I had barely closed my eyes when it rang again. 2:19 a.m. Same unknown number. This time I hesitated before answering. Hello? The static returned. Then the breathing. Then a voice, hoarse, low, distorted, like someone speaking through broken vocal cords. "Ryan, I found you." I dropped the phone. It clattered onto the hardwood floor but stayed connected. The voice kept speaking, the static pulsing like a heartbeat. "You shouldn't live alone." I hung up and immediately turned off my phone. I sat on the floor shaking, staring at the blank TV screen as if a face might appear on it. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I turned my phone back on. No missed calls, no voicemail, no record that anyone had called me at all. I tried to move on, pretend it was a nightmare. But the next night, again at 2:19 a.m., the phone rang. This time I didn't answer. I just stared at the screen until it stopped. Then it rang again and again, 5 times in total, all from different unknown numbers. I unplugged the phone charger, grabbed my keys, and left the apartment. I drove around Denver until sunrise, parking near lit gas stations or busy intersections, anywhere except home. But eventually, I had to go back. That night, I decided not to sleep. I sat at the kitchen table with every light on, drinking coffee, watching the clock. 2:18 a.m. My pulse hammered in my neck. 2:19 a.m. The phone lit up. Unknown number. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The ringing stopped, and then my landline rang. I don't even use the landline. It came with the apartment, and I never bothered unplugging it. The sound echoed through the small kitchen, shrill and mechanical. I felt my skin crawl. I walked to the phone on the wall, hand shaking. The caller ID flashed. Caller in the house. My blood went cold. That wasn't a possible ID, not for landlines, not for anything. The phone kept ringing. I forced myself to pick it up. "Hello?" I whispered. This time, the voice wasn't distorted. It was clear, human, and it was whispering just like I was. "Look behind you." I spun around, nearly slipping on the tile floor. Nothing, just my empty kitchen, my beating heart, my shaking hands. I backed into the living room, phone still clutched in my hand. The whisper came again. "I'm already inside." I threw the phone down and ran to the front door. I yanked it open, only to see a man standing in my hallway, just inches from the threshold. Tall, thin, head tilted too far to the side. Eyes wide but unfocused, like he wasn't looking at me, but through me. His mouth opened slowly. "Ryan," he whispered, "you left your window open." I slammed the door and bolted it. I ran to the window, closed, locked, nothing disturbed. I dialed 911 with shaking fingers. When police arrived, the hallway was empty. They checked my apartment, the building, even the area outside. No man, no footprints, no signs of forced entry. But one officer found something on the inside of my living room window. A fingerprint. One long, smeared fingerprint dragged down the glass like someone had trailed their finger along it while staring inside. I moved out the next morning, left the furniture, the clothes, everything. And ever since that night, my phone rings at 2:19 a.m. Different cities, different numbers, same voice. You shouldn't live alone. My name is Mia Carter, and until last spring, I lived alone in a small second-floor apartment in Knoxville, Tennessee. It wasn't the safest area, but the place was affordable, close to my job at a local diner, and came with a huge window that overlooked the quiet neighborhood street. That window used to be my favorite thing about the apartment. Now I can't even look at windows at night. It started on a Wednesday, around 1:40 a.m. I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone when I heard tapping on the glass. Not like a branch or rain, like a fingertip. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. My bed faced the window, but the curtains were closed. I stared at them, expecting a shadow or silhouette to appear behind the fabric. Nothing. I sat up slowly, listening. Tap, tap, tap. The tapping was higher now, about 6 feet up the glass. And that didn't make sense. I lived on the second floor. There was nothing outside that window except a drop to the bushes below. I told myself it had to be the building settling, or maybe a bird, even though no bird taps like that in the middle of the night. Eventually, the tapping stopped. I forced myself to sleep, telling myself it was nothing. The next night, it came back, but this time it wasn't tapping. It was scratching. Slow, deliberate scratching along the glass. Scratch. My heart pounded so hard I felt it echo in my throat. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, shining it on the curtain. The fabric didn't move. I didn't see a shadow, just the trembling of my own hand. I didn't go near the window. Instead, I left the light on, climbed back into bed, and stared at the ceiling until morning. But the worst night was the third. I remember the time exactly, 3:12 a.m. I woke to silence, heavy, unnatural silence, the kind that feels alive. I kept my eyes closed, pretending to sleep, but I felt something watching me. You know that feeling, that cold, crawling awareness, like someone is right there in the dark. Then I heard breathing, not mine, not human, wet, ragged, too slow. It was coming from the window. I forced myself to look. The curtain was pushed outward, like something was leaning against it from behind. The fabric bulged inward, slowly rising and falling with the breathing. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I just stared, waiting for whatever was behind the curtain to reveal itself. Then it spoke. Not in words, at least not in a language I understood. It sounded like something trying to imitate human speech, but failing. A low, distorted whisper. My own name. That broke me. I grabbed my phone, jumped off the bed, and bolted out my front door. I ran down the stairs barefoot, almost falling, and didn't stop until I reached the parking lot under the streetlight. Only then did I dial 911. A patrol car arrived within minutes. I explained everything, maybe too fast, too panicked, and the officers followed me back up to my apartment. Inside, everything looked normal at first. No open windows, no footprints, no damage. But when one officer pulled back the curtain, he froze. On the outside of the glass, almost 6 feet above the ground, were 3 long, deep scratches carved into the window pane itself. Not surface scratches, carved. Glass shavings clung to the edges. The officer looked at the marks, then back at me. "Ma'am, you sure you don't have someone after you?" I shook my head. They inspected the bushes beneath the window. Nothing. No footprints, no broken branches, nothing, indicating anyone or anything had climbed up. Before leaving, one officer said, "If you feel unsafe, stay with someone tonight, and maybe avoid that window." I did more than avoid it. I left. I packed a bag and drove straight to my sister's house in Nashville. I never returned to that apartment. I didn't even go back for my belongings. I called the landlord, told him I refused to stay another night, and offered to forfeit my deposit. He didn't argue. 2 weeks later, he emailed me. He said they rented my apartment to a college student from the University of Tennessee, and the student complained about something strange. He says someone keeps scratching on the window at night, the landlord wrote. "We think it's a raccoon, but the marks are too high. Just thought you'd want to know." No, I did not want to know. But I knew it wasn't a raccoon, and I knew whatever stood at my window, it wasn't trying to get in. It was trying to be seen. My name is Evan Turner, and until last year, I lived alone in a small rental house on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon. It wasn't much. Just an old single-story place with creaking floors, outdated wiring, and a yard that always looked 1 week away from becoming a forest. But it was cheap, quiet, and close enough to my job that I could bike to work if I had to. I'd always considered myself comfortable being alone. I grew up an only child in a rural part of Washington, where my nearest neighbor was half a mile down the road. Silence never scared me. Darkness never bothered me. I thought I was immune to all that. I was wrong. It started on a Tuesday night in late November, the kind of cold, damp night Portland is famous for. I was sitting at my desk, editing photos. I do freelance visual work, when I heard a soft knock on my front door. Not a normal knock. It was slow, deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. At first, I thought maybe it was my neighbor, Mrs. Holloway, checking in about the stray cat she fed or a package delivery mix-up. But when I checked the clock, it was 12:14 a.m. No one knocked at that hour. I walked to the living room, peeled back the curtain, and looked outside. No one. Just the wet, shimmering driveway and the pine trees swaying in the wind. I opened the door, a stupid move, I know, but curiosity beat common sense. I stepped onto the porch. Still nothing, but the cold hit me unusually hard, like the air had dropped 10 degrees in a second. I went back inside, locked the door, and told myself it was probably my imagination. Maybe a branch hit the siding, maybe the mail slot rattled. Old houses did weird things. But the next night, it happened again. This time, the knocks were faster, urgent. I froze halfway down the hallway. The sound came from the front door again, but something felt different, wrong. I didn't go to the window, I didn't open the door. I just waited, heart pounding, until the knocking stopped. After a few minutes, I worked up the courage to check. Again, no one. I told myself I'd install a camera the next day, but I didn't. Work ran late, and by the time I got home, I was too tired. I microwaved leftovers, showered, and went to bed. That night, the knocking didn't come. Something worse did. Around 3:27 a.m., I woke to the sound of footsteps inside my house. Slow, heavy ones, coming from the hallway outside my bedroom. I sat up straight in bed, holding my breath. I convinced myself it had to be the house settling, maybe an animal on the roof, anything but the truth. But when the footsteps reached my bedroom door, they stopped, right outside. I stared at the door, expecting it to swing open. It didn't. Instead, something started dragging along the wood, like a fingernail. One slow scratch, My throat tightened. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Then a voice whispered through the door. "Evan, I've been waiting." I bolted out of bed, grabbed my phone, and ran into the bathroom, locking the door behind me. The shower curtain rustled from the air I displaced as I shoved myself into the corner. My heart thundered so violently that I felt it in my fingertips. I dialed 911. While I waited for the operator to pick up, the dragging sound returned, this time on the bathroom door. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I felt nauseous, dizzy, seconds from passing out. The operator answered, but I was too terrified to speak. I just whispered, "Someone is inside my house. Please hurry." The dispatcher stayed on the line. I didn't hear the footsteps anymore. Not the scratching. Nothing. Just silence. When the police finally arrived, they searched the house top to bottom and found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no footprints, no open windows. They suggested I was dreaming. Stress, overwork, imagination. I didn't argue. What else could I say? But I knew what I heard. I knew what I felt outside that bathroom door. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I packed a bag and went to a coworker's house before sunrise. The next day, I broke my lease and moved out permanently. I didn't even go back for the furniture. 2 weeks later, Mrs. Holloway called me. She said the new tenant moved in. Nice guy, quiet, minded his own business. But she told me something else. "Evan, he says someone knocks on his door at night." I asked her what she meant, trying to keep my voice steady. She hesitated before answering. "He says he opens it, but no one is there. And last night, he said the knocking came from inside the house." I hung up the phone. I haven't been back to Portland since, because I know something about that house. Something the police never found. Something the new tenant will learn too late. Whatever knocks doesn't leave. And it's still looking for me.
Don't forget to subscribe for more scary stories. Thank you for watching.